We'll get going here. Call to order the meeting of the tree board for Tuesday, September 7th, 2021, 6 p.m. Memorial Hall. Call to order. Do we have to do a roll call?
Sure. Trustee Postuma,
Here.
Trustee Harlow,
Here.
Trustee Fisher,
Here.
Chairman Banky.
Here.
Thank you.
So before us is we have two discussion items. The first is for 439 North Bruner Street, and the second one is for 626 Woodland Avenue. Would we like to start with any public comment for anyone who's here, or?
There's a gentleman here for the Woodland Drive or Woodland Road.
It's entirely up to you, sir.
Yes, I was asked to come in case there was questions relating to why we need to take the tree down.
Understood.
So I'm the general contractor. I've met with numerous people from City Hall, as well as FCWRD, trying to find another option. We really couldn't find one, so that's why I'm sitting here.
Gotcha. So John, would you like to just give us a summary of the first?
Sure, if we could do 626 Woodland Road first. So the general contractor, it's a new home construction out there, and there is an existing sanitary line that they're hoping to reuse because the main sanitaries are very deep over there, 16 to 20 feet below grade. 20 to 28 feet below grade.
Wow.
And that would make a heck of a hole and take up a lot of the road on Woodland and Taft. They've explored a lot of options trying to minimize disruption for the road and for the public area. They thought about doing a connection on the east side of Taft, the east side of, or the north side of Woodland Road. But there's a beautiful landmark, large American elm that they would actually be working under the drip line, and that would actually end up being a deeper hole on that side. So through discussions with our water and sewer superintendent as well as Flag Creek, we couldn't find a better option than to allow him a permit to remove a parkway tree, able to fix the failure in the existing line, seal up and reuse the existing line.
Gotcha. And so to frame this, I think that we've got an ash tree, which we've had issues in the past with the emerald ash borer. So that in and of itself is a tree I don't believe we're planting in the village any longer.
We're
because
not
of that
planting
issue?
those trees anymore due to emerald ash borer, correct. That tree has actually been treated by the village since 2011. So it's actually in good condition. It has very minimal borer issues, and it's in fair condition, good health. So it's a good parkway tree, otherwise the permit fee wouldn't be an issue.
Right. And I think that also the applicant has agreed to pay the $5,000 fee, which is associated with removal of the tree.
Correct.
And we will be replacing the tree with another tree.
Once
Once all the work is completed.
Correct.
So that answers my questions, and I think frames the discussion as far as I am concerned. Are there any questions by any other members of the board?
Is the reference in the third paragraph to the 5 and 7 trees, is that a typo?
Yes, it is. I
okay.
apologize. I had both memos on the screen and read them two instead of one.
Got it.
I apologize.
Okay.
John, do you have any sense of what is the cost per tree of that ash treatment?
It's about, it's an annual treatment, so you have to do it every year. Some other treatments are every other year or every third year. But it's based on the diameter inch, and because we treat about 200, 300 trees every year, we get quite a bit of a volume discount. But it's anywhere from $1.50 to $2.50 per inch. So a 10-inch tree would be $25 or something like that.
Okay. So it's not an enormous,
It's not an enormous
Investment.
investment on a micro scale, but on a
Right.
macro scale, it's a significant investment by the
Yes.
village to maintain these trees.
yes. Okay.
Michelle, any questions?
No questions?
Okay, so do we have enough discussion, and can we take a vote? Is that how this works? It's my first tree.
Yeah. Sure, somebody can make a motion, we'll do it, we can do it voice vote, whatever.
So I guess the motion would be to approve the request for 626 Woodland Avenue as presented.
In past years, John, you may remember this, there was discussion of a policy where if you take out one tree, then you need to plant 2 trees. You know, if you're taking out a tree that is,
Yes, that was a
You know.
lot of back and forth with tree board and quite a few years ago now, that there was a lot of issues coming before the tree board, and they wanted to be consistent with their recommendations. So they tried to move away from doing a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1, and they added this code in there so it would be consistent, consistently enforced. What it ended up being was, if the tree board allows you to remove this tree, this would be the fee. And the crux of it would be, if it wasn't a big enough issue, you would not, the tree board would deny your request.
I see, okay.
So that fee wouldn't change if it was a 3-inch tree or a 30-inch tree, but you have a very better chance, you know, to get a 3-inch tree out than a 30-inch tree out.
Right, okay.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the request for removal of the tree in exchange for the payment of the permit fee of $5,000.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Nick. I'll send it over to you.
All right, John, so we moved on to 439 North Bruner.
So this is a block in the village where there's a lot of non-traditional parkways. So this whole block is not grass with a couple of trees out in front. It's, a lot of it is unmaintained or in a natural state, and there's quite a bit of vegetation from North Street all the way up to where it dead ends just south of Ogden Avenue. Several years ago, this resident put in a significant amount of landscaping on their side of the property line as well as the public side of the property line. It has not fared well. The village had no investment or involvement in the planting at that time. And now that it's had a couple of years to establish and it has not established well, the resident is requesting the village provide a permit and that they will re-landscape in a more traditional form, and it'll be more of a traditional parkway that you see through the village. And pretty significant if you look at the landscape plan.
Yes. So in this particular instance, the applicant is going to bear the expense of all the repairs and the replacement of, I believe it's 2 trees, if I'm not mistaken.
There's quite a bit, actually, it's, there, at the time of the memo, there were 2 dead trees. Now the plums aren't doing as well either, so it's not nearly as good as it once was anyway, so, but there's a significant amount of vegetation being removed, but there's going to be quite a bit of vegetation installed
Right.
in the final project.
And they're bearing that expense, correct?
Yes, correct.
The applicant's bearing that expense. And in your expert opinion, this is a great improvement, based on the conversation that you and I had the other day, over what is currently there. And I know the area, I don't live too far from there, and it's a bit of an eyesore, so.
Yes.
It sounds as though that this is
It's going to
actually,
be a more of a formal parkway than what's there now.
right,
More
it
of
sounds
a
like it'll be very
traditional
nice.
parkway, yeah.
So, with the residents planting on the parkway, and I drove down this afternoon, so I think your characterization that it's a non-typical or atypical is totally accurate. It's very different from many other areas of the village, but who pays for the tree? You know, once they're out of their warranty, I'm assuming that the landscape contractor will have like a 1-year warranty period on the trees? That's typical?
That's typical. I'm not sure what it would be on this, at this site. That's a great question. I don't know. But after that 1-year warranty, the vegetation on the village's property up there, the trees would be maintained by the village. And typical of other parts, the woody ornamentals and the perennials would be maintained by the homeowner. Just like
Okay.
the homeowner mows the grass or
I see.
does their beds.
So would the village be maintaining all of those arborvitaes? Because it appears that those are gonna be on the village side of things. You know, it's not just the red buds that are out toward the street, if I'm reading this correctly, but it would be 8 arbs. And then the 2 big maple trees that they're leaving are right on the property line.
They're just,
So-
yes, just to the house side of the property line.
The Henry's garnet trees are on the Parkway side too.
Which ones?
These 3 trees on each side.
Yes, I think those are shrubs.
Yeah, that's sweet
Those
spire.
are, those are
That's
shrubs, okay,
ornamental,
the
yeah.
IT,
Yeah.
okay,
Itea, yep.
yeah, okay.
Correct, that those arborvitaes would be on the village property, and the village would not maintain those. Unless they were diseased and had to be come down, but we wouldn't do any maintenance on those,
You would not?
no.
Okay. And with the red buds, would you be doing maintenance on those?
Just typical maintenance, deadwood pruning as
Yeah.
necessary, no
Okay.
shaping or anything.
Do you do any maintenance now on the existing trees?
If you, just south of there, we had some trees that were lost, you may have saw the stumps there. I mean, if we're in our normal cycle pruning, which is every 7 years, we'd go through there and prune all trees on public property, 8 or 10 inches in diameter and greater. And if those were in that range, we would take care of them at that time.
So John, in exchange for allowing the applicant to complete this work, which again, they're going to be doing at their own expense, they're asking for a fee waiver of the $5,000, which would normally be assessed for this process or for this approval. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is $5,000 the total fee?
It's a per tree fee.
Per tree.
Oh, okay.
So this actually would be in excess of that, wouldn't it?
Yes, well, 2 of the trees are dead, and I would take those out if it wasn't part of this overall landscaping plan.
Right.
Do we know how big the red buds are that they intend to put in?
I don't know, but
No.
typically it's 2 to 3 inches in diameter. That's industry standard.
Okay.
And will that be recommended or will that be required for them to meet those standards?
We'll have to still, because they're planting in the parkway, we'll still have to do a review. Lourdes and I will do a review and make sure they're not doing any line of sight issues and things like that.
Gotcha.
And the size of the arborvitaes as well? Do you
I'm
get
not sure.
involved with specifying what kind or,
I can recommend to stay away from certain things.
okay,
Beyond that, it would be up to the client and the
Okay.
contractor.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the Parkway tree removal request for 439 North Bruner Street?
You know, I guess I'm just thinking out loud here. You know, $5,000 per tree sounds like a lot. On the other hand, to say they don't have to pay anything for removing village trees, I don't know about that either. You know, I could see, you know, charging for one tree, in essence, one fee. I don't know how other people feel about that, but
Yeah, my only gut reaction is that they're actually going through the expense, which would, you know, having had landscaping done at my own house, what they're proposing here, in my view, is pretty substantial and actually will be a big improvement to the streetscape and, you know, to the neighborhood in general. So, in the absence of that, Matt, I'd completely agree with you. But given that they are going through this expense of you know, beautification, I don't have an issue with it personally.
They're bearing the cost of removal, planting, everything, soup to nuts, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We're supplying the permit, that's the village's
our-
responsibility, right?
Okay.
And we'll make sure that their contractors supply us a certificate of insurance and are, you know, bonded and insured and things like that.
I don't have an issue with the fee.
Okay. Laurel?
I think I would, I'm sort of on the fence about it. I agree that charging a fee per tree seems just, you know, excessive when they do have this substantial plan that they're doing. We don't really have a sense of the scale of what they're putting in. You know, you were saying that a 2 to 3 inch caliper red bud is standard. Do you have any idea, like with the arborvitaes, what a standard size would, you know, because if what goes in is really miniature,
Right.
you know, that,
I
It's
actually
not
didn't
really
get
sort
that
of an
from
equivalent
here, I
cost.
apologize, I didn't get the sizes from the contractor.
Would we be more comfortable if we could give specifications versus basically just taking them at their word that, you know, they're gonna do the planting and then we kind of, once it's done, it's done.
right,
But I think that, to your point, if we were to go through the exercise of saying, provided that you have this specification, and John, this is your expertise, does that elevate our level of comfort where we would be more inclined to forgive the $5,000 that's associated?
I think for
Does that
me,
seem like a fair,
for me it would.
yes,
Yeah.
and I agree with you, that's a very good point.
You don't want a Home Depot 1 gallon
Right,
in versus something more mature and
right,
Right.
substantial.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
The spruce trees are pretty tall.
Yes.
They're quite large, yeah.
So Matt, are you comfortable with that? If it is a compromise, with that type of a compromise?
Yeah, I could be okay with that.
So can we, Chris, can we specify that within the
Sure.
minutes?
Sure.
That that's the condition?
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be, and can we make it pending John's approval that, you know, John, you know what the standards are? And so this just basically enforcing those standards?
So we'll say maybe a 3-inch caliper on the red buds, good size, and 6 or 8 foot on the arborvitae, so they're substantial.
Yeah, whatever,
little ones.
Yeah.
but, and I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
the standards, you obviously are very familiar, so I completely defer to, you know, your expertise.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay.
And a very
I
good
agree.
point. All right, so should I try this again? Do we have a motion to approve pending the stipulations so made at this, during this discussion for the Parkway tree removal request and associated improvements to landscaping at 439 North Bruner Street? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. That was a long one.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. I guess do I have to do a motion to
Somebody move to close.
move to close?
To adjourn?
Motion to
Second.
adjourn?
Congratulations,
We're done.
we're done.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
right.
you, everybody.
You're all veterans now.
1 down, 2 to go.
John, thank you very much.
Thank you.